Focus 4, December 2018, Hazard Recognition. Agent's mission is to keep infrastructure working better, safer, and longer for customers throughout the world. As our tagline mentioned, safety is one of our main values. Zero incidents are possible. Ensuring the safety of each employee is our top priority. Every agent employee is empowered to deliver best-in-class safety performance at all times. This month, for the December Focus 4, we're going to discuss hazard recognition. We're going to provide several examples of how our own people apply this concept and even use the stop work authority as necessary. First, we need to understand what is a hazard. A hazard is any source of potential damage, harm, or adverse effects on something or someone under certain conditions. Examples of hazards include tools, equipment, machinery, materials, environment, people, actions, system flaws. There are different types of hazards, such as biological hazards like mold, insects, pests, diseases, chemical and dust hazards like cleaning products, pesticides, asbestos, ergonomic hazards such as repetition, lifting, or awkward positions, work organization hazards, things that cause stress, physical hazards like noise, temperature, and radiation, and safety hazards like slip, trips and falls, faulty equipment. On this video, we are going to give some examples of safety hazards that our employees recognize and the method of control that they use to mitigate a hazard. But before that, we are going to talk about the hierarchy of controls in order to have a better understanding of the controls that they used. On this picture, you can see all the different control methods that we have, where the PPE is the less effective and the elimination or substitution is the most effective. Since elimination or substitution is not always possible, we have other options like the engineering and administrative controls. Next, we will see some examples.
This is the dynamic mixing system we used on the Shell Appomattox job on the Balder. We noticed that the valves, while actuating, would have moving parts in a place where people would be walking by. We didn't feel that was safe, so we added a stainless steel safety cage around it.
In this example, the hazard identified was that there were moving parts with people walking nearby. In this case, it was used an engineering control by adding a cage around the hazardous area.
This is a drum tumbler that was also used on the Shell Appomattox job. We found that the lifting and rotation of the drum was very unsafe, so we added a safety cage that had a disconnect switch on the door, so if you open the door it would stop the drum tumbler from moving.
On this example, the hazard identified was the lifting and rotating of the drum. And the control that was used, it was an engineering control that added a cage with a disconnected switch at the door. When the door is open, the drum stops moving.
These are some pumps that were also used on the Shell Appomattox job. Two of the pumps were lifted together incorrectly, causing both of them to fall to the ground and causing damage to the pumps as well as creating an unsafe environment for the workers. This is the way in which they were held that was incorrect.
In this example, the hazard identified is that two of the pumps were lifted incorrectly, causing both to fall to the ground. The control method used to mitigate this hazard was an administrative control that procedure provides instructions for employees to lift the pumps correctly. Next, we're going to see another example on an ACS project.
The main point to hazard recognition is to identify hazards before they create an incident. Take a look at this picture of one of our ACS crews positioning the robot on a new section of pipe. Take a minute to identify the hazards at a glance. Are any employees exposed to any unnecessary hazards? Now, as we watch this play out a little further, what hazards do you see as the most immediate concerns? If you spotted the overhead load with employees in the line of fire, then I would agree with you. As the video played a little further, you may have noticed the maneuvering of the side boom caused the sandy soil to collapse from the excavation walls. If the excavation wall were to collapse further, it appears possible that the side boom could be affected as well. In the worst case scenario, the employees in the excavation are not only exposed to the suspended robot, but also the side boom on the unstable ground. The situation in this video caused an employee to use his stop work authority in order to evaluate the situation and the hazards involved before proceeding further with the task. This was the right call. We all have the authority to stop any unsafe action. And not only do we have the ability to stop unsafe work, we also have the obligation and the responsibility. Another consideration you might be aware of would be to put yourself in the driver's seat of the side boom. The driver is managing a large suspended load, but that isn't his only consideration. He has 3 people in front of him, 2 people behind him, and another 6 people below him in the excavation. If this seems like a lot for one operator to manage, it's because it is. A skilled operator must be able to provide adequate attention to multiple areas at a time. However, in this situation, the employees on the ground are simply relying too much on the operator's skill, the rigging, and the equipment. A failure in any of these areas could lead to serious injury or fatality.
Next, we're going to see an example in an office environment. The hazard identified in this example is slip and fall, which is one of the most common hazards in the workplace. A slip and fall is loss of balance caused by too little friction between a person's foot and a walking surface. Wet or oily surfaces, occasional spills, weather hazards are some of the common causes of slip and falls. Some control methods that can be used for this hazard are display wet floor signs as needed, clean up spills as soon as possible, use moisture-absorbing mats, use anti-skid adhesives, and use proper area rugs or mats, as can be seen in the following example. Hazard recognition and reporting concerns everybody. A hazard that is not identified is a hazard that could impact the following individual that comes across with it. Each employee has a responsibility to be a leader within our organization. We must do everything in our power to live a safety culture that continues to push for zero. Thanks for watching.